And this morning, I was just walking down the street, and I just happened to come across a business called Love Whole Foods. And it made me think about doing what you love to do. I love to play Celtic Fiddle. And it's been a passion of mine since I was a young child, probably from about the age of 7, and maybe just before that, although I didn't know it. And I used to hear tunes when I was growing up, and one of the tunes was by a gentleman called Robert Burns, and it's a tune I'm going to play just now called "My Love Is Like a Red, Red Rose." Now, what you saw there was an example of true woof. And woof is like the dog's way, like a dog's way of just loving you, woofing you. And I've actually written a book called, it used to be called Daily Practice Mindset Growth Secrets. And it's called Kickstart Your Day the Celtic Fiddle Way. Now, you can actually grab the book from Amazon under its own title, under its old title of Daily Practice Mindset Growth Secrets. And in the book, it talks about the story of Woof Diamonds. This is, dogs are really wonderful pets in our family, cats as well, and could be horses. But it's just the emotions that the animals can actually detect, that they can see in us, they can feel in us from an empathy point of view, is really actually staggering. So I had one of dear friends in Tasmania, the mum in the family actually passed away, and before the mum passed away, I really wanted to cheer up the family, so I created the Woof Diamonds certificate, and it's a certificate you can actually download from woofdiamonds.com, WUFF diamonds.com, and it really provides an opportunity for you, if you have a dog as a pet in your family, to acknowledge the inspiration that the dogs bring to your family. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm hoping that the website is still up, because if it is, then you've got just this awesome opportunity to just honour your pet, and you can even have an official plaque for them, or just take something really special from that. And that's what we were doing just now, honouring the Woof Diamonds in our family. And we were doing it live. This is a real-time show, folks. This is a real-time show. Which reminds me, I would just love to play a Scottish reel for you. That tune was actually called The Flowers of Edinburgh. And you're going to say, what does that have to do with love, Colin? Well, I'm going to tell you a story bringing it back to love and the passion of what people used to really, really love to do around the 1700s and the 1800s. So you've got Edinburgh Castle, beautiful castle on the remains of volcanic rock. And Edinburgh Castle's been in existence for over 500 years. And below the castle used to be a loch. A loch is what other countries would call a lake. And people used to do everything in that water, like they'd wash and bathe, they'd use it for other things. And there used to be quite an aroma that arose from the loch, and people used to hold bunches of flowers so that they could have a lovely smell when they actually walked past the loch. And you know, people used to love to have a really nice stroll past the loch as they looked up at the castle. And sometimes there might be some courting going on, or perhaps a husband and wife walking past, just enjoying the Edinburgh night. Because in Edinburgh, you can actually get some really nice nights in summer. Now, within the last, I'd say 2 centuries ago, this is the 1800s, that the loch, all the water was, the loch was drained, and now you've got Princess Street Gardens there. And as part of the festival, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival or the Edinburgh International Festival, people come in their droves to Edinburgh in August, and at the end of the festival, the International Festival, they actually have a fireworks display. And you'll see fireworks coming down the rocks in front of Edinburgh Castle, and people sit in Princess Street Gardens, which is the former loch, just to watch the spectacle and do something they love, which is to catch up with friends. So I'd like to do another tune about Edinburgh. This tune, I used to be in the West End of Edinburgh, and there's a beauty in the buildings in Edinburgh, like the stonework. And there used to be, there's a bridge called the Dean Bridge, and the next tune I'd like to play talks about the love. It commemorates the love of the engineer who actually built the Dean Bridge, which is roughly 1838, and I forget the name of the engineer who actually built it, but he did a thoroughly good job because it's still standing today. Now, the gentleman who built the bridge, it might actually have been called Thomas Telford, and I used to run under the bridge during the summers in Edinburgh, and I would do a lap around the botanical gardens in Edinburgh and then come back under the bridge, and it was just like it really is. It's a viaduct bridge, and it really is beautiful to look at, and really is a part of the picturesque scene in the West End of Edinburgh. So, talking about passion, now we have some. Tonight I'm working with Constant Brousseau of Constant Productions, and Constant's passion is allowing me to host this concert live from Orlando, and it's an absolutely amazing spectacle, and one which I'm very proud to be part of. So thank you, Constant, for facilitating this evening. And when I think about passion, I think about violin, I think about Scottish fiddle, I think about Celtic fiddle. The gentleman who was the grandfather of Scottish fiddle playing was Neil Gow. And Neil Gow, and these are the only dates I can actually remember of people, he was around from 1727 until 1807. So over 80 years, he contributed a lot to Scottish fiddle playing and getting it off the ground. His family, his nephews, and other members of his family were very much enjoyed the music as well. And I remember a story about Neil Gow. Neil Gow was playing at a dance in the Theatre Royal in Edinburgh, and he was just walking home one night, and all of a sudden, because Neil Gow used to carry his violin in a green knapsack, and he put it over his back. And he was going over a bridge in Edinburgh this particular evening after playing, and suddenly a man ran after him, ran past him, grabbed his violin, and then started running ahead. So Neil Gow somehow managed to run after this gentleman and get his violin back. And it turned out that the gentleman who had tried to sort of borrow, inverted commas, Neil Gow's violin was actually a musician at the Theatre Royal in Edinburgh, and this musician had lost his job, and he wanted to put food on the table for his family. So Neil Gow got his violin back, and he also managed to get this musician his job back at the Theatre Royal. And afterwards, Neil was invited around to the family's table to join in the evening meals, and the musician and Neil Gow also became really, really good friends. And, Neil had a lot of adventures. Mr. Gow had a lot of adventures when he was playing his violin. And he used to play for the gentry in the Highlands of Scotland and elsewhere, Edinburgh included. Sometimes Neil would write a tune in honour of perhaps a duke or a landowner, and sometimes people would actually write a tune to commemorate Neil Gow, and this particular tune commemorates Neil Gow. It's called Neil Gow's Quick Step, and it's on one of my albums, Roaming Free, which I made in sort of mid-2000s. I recorded this album in Melbourne, Australia with Rory Sinclair. So you can actually download that from the website CelticFiddleGuru.com, or tonight you can get a signed copy of the Roaming Free album. And I think we might have another album that I've done with Steve Wade from the Little River Band, and you can get a signed copy of that tonight as well, and we'll send it out to you. It's a really, really nice offer, actually. So here's the tune, Neil Gow. Neil Gow's Quick Step. Just practicing there. Now, just to let you know, this is actually being broadcast live from Orlando, Florida, and we're talking about passion, what we love to do. And my name's Colin MacLeod, Celtic Fiddle Guru, and I'm able to do this live broadcast because Constant Brusso from Constant Productions is doing the work to make this happen in real time. Hello everyone, and we're broadcasting all over the world tonight, and in Australia it's sort of like early morning approaching midday. On the west coast of the US, people have just about finished their day's work. In fact, they have actually finished the day's work. And if you're working later, and if you're listening in, thank goodness, because I get the opportunity to help you have a break from what you're doing. So doing what you love can really provide a lot of inspiration. And being over in the US, I've actually started wearing my kilt again. Now, my kilt is, my family's name is MacLeod. The MacLeods went back to, the MacLeod family can be traced back to 1208 on the island of Skye, when Olaf the Black, the Viking king of the Western Isles, had two sons. One got the Isle of Skye and one got the Isle of Lewis, and I'm actually descended from the Isle of Skye MacLeods. Now, I walked out the door this morning wearing my kilt, and do you want to know what happened? So this is me doing what I love to do, and I just opened the door, walked out the door this morning wearing my kilt, and do you know the question that I was asked? This gentleman was walking his dog, and he said, "Do you play the bagpipes?" And this was a very, very astute question this morning. And it was because I was wearing my kilt and it looked like I was carrying something which looked like a bagpipe case. Now, in fact, it wasn't a bagpipe case, it was a violin case. So then a conversation started between myself and this gentleman, and actually ending up with a connection that I'm going to give a phone that is with one of the pipe bands and in the area. And you know, it just reminds me about people following their passion, and what I would like to do to honour the passion of the bagpipes is to actually play a tune called the Atholl Highlanders. Now, the Atholl Highlanders is the only private army in the UK, and the Duke of Atholl in the north of in the Highlands of Scotland. The Atholl Highlanders are the private army of the Duke of Atholl. So, if you're in Scotland, I think it's maybe late May. They actually have the Blair Atholl Highland Games, and you'll be able to see the Atholl Highlanders officially marching as part of the Highland Games. Now, that was the Atholl Highlanders, and that was just to honour all you bagpipe players out there, plus the bagpipe bands and their communities. Now, my violin technique is actually has been very, very strongly influenced by the bagpipes, and you'll hear that in the way that I do my decorations. And shortly, I'm going to be releasing an online Celtic Fiddle course, which has various components to it. Foundation, so if you're just starting out and you actually want to try and play the violin, you want to learn what you're doing, or perhaps you've maybe been learning playing in an orchestra. It could be Dallas Symphony Orchestra, the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, or it could be a community orchestra, perhaps Daytona Philharmonic Community Orchestra. And sheet music has sort of been your source of focus while you've been playing the violin. Well, my course, Learning by Ear, will help you to move away from sheet music and play the violin, play a tune without any sheet music, and join in a Celtic music session anywhere in the world so you could have fun. And then, you know, you maybe can play by ear, play a tune by ear, play some tunes by ear, but you really want to get that authentic Celtic sound so that you're playing from the heart. You love the focus on tone, and I've actually created a course which focuses on techniques and decorations, so that when you go out and you play Celtic music, you really own your own sound. And people ask you, what are you doing? What are you doing to make that sound? And it's just another way to help you join in Celtic music sessions anywhere in the world. So if you're interested in that, you can send me a private message on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Celtic Fiddle Guru. Or if you want to email me, that's Colin, COLIN, MacLeod, MacLeod, 770 @gmail.com, and we can discuss things. And I'd really love to find out what you would love to learn to help you go to your next steps, next levels in terms of playing the violin. Now, we're talking about passion, we're talking about love of what you love to do, we're talking about the inspiration of it. And when I've been playing the violin, it's like over the years, I've had so many moments of being able to turn these moments into memories for people and myself. They're very, very special memories. And last year, I was actually over in Nepal. I went as part of a singing trek, and what I was doing was I was doing research to take my own group of people across to Nepal in 2019, April 2019, and to experience culture, to play a few Celtic fiddle tunes in different spaces. One of these is going to be a monastery. And I had the opportunity, I saw this glass of beer, and it just happened to be a Mount Everest glass of beer. And I was looking at it, and there was Nepalese music being played in the background, and this was one of the first nights that the group of people got together. There was probably about 15 of us, and this was in Kathmandu, and the building was absolutely beautiful. The Nepalese musicians were playing, and I was fixated on how you've actually got a glass of beer, you've actually got a style of beer that's Mount Everest. And I thought, wouldn't it just be sensational to be able to play the violin over Mount Everest? So about a week and a half later, one of the leaders in the group says, there's somebody's birthday coming up, and a few people are going to be flying in a plane over Mount Everest. Are you interested in joining that group on the plane? So I said, yes. And 3 days later, I flew over Mount Everest. Well, first of all, I took my violin on the plane. We flew over Mount Everest at about 33,000 feet, and I played a tune on the plane. And we also celebrated the person's birthday, just lovingly so, absolutely lovingly so. And I've actually put in a nomination, an application to the Guinness Book of Records for a new record to take Celtic fiddle playing to new inspirational heights. Now, and this is a result of my love, my passion for playing Celtic fiddle, because I would love to inspire people to take the next steps in what they want to do. So you're saying, Colin, you're actually talking a heck of a lot this evening. Well, I do love conversations. So, and you might ask a question. Oh, I've had a question. And one of the questions was, Colin, can you play maybe perhaps one of the tunes that you were actually playing on the plane flying over Mount Everest? Okay, here we go. So this is an Irish jig called the Kesh jig. So that was the Kesh jig. Now, the Kesh jig is named after a lighthouse over in Ireland. And I think there would probably be a few bright lights coming from that lighthouse that has saved a few ships just sailing towards the rocks. Now, with passion goes purpose. And I'm not sure if it's purpose first and then passion, or is it passion and then purpose. But if you're doing what you love, you have a passion and you also have a purpose. And my purpose is to inspire people just to have fun in their day, and also be able to play in a Celtic music session anywhere in the world and have fun. So you're probably saying, okay, you might be thinking, what would it be like to be at a Celtic music session somewhere in the world? We could be in the US, for example. We could be at the Claddagh in Orlando. The Irish music sessions have just changed to the Claddagh probably in the last couple of months. And what set of music might be played there? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a set of 3 Irish jigs. So just sit down with whatever you're doing. If you're having a glass of wine or a cup of tea or maybe a cup of coffee, catching up with friends, just close your eyes and just imagine that you're just listening to a Celtic music session. Now, those were three Irish jigs, and you would hear something like that at a Celtic music session somewhere in the world. And we just had somebody ringing in with a request for some tunes. So I'll just tell you a short joke, and then I'll play a few more tunes. Now, talking about people following their passion and doing what they love, there was an Australian gentleman who wanted to go over to Scotland. He had a passion for travelling, and when I mean a passion, like it was just a major part of his life. So he phoned up. He was trying to get through to a call centre in Glasgow, just to help him organise his trip. And yes, it actually could have been me. Maybe it was me. And so this gentleman from Australia is speaking to a call centre operator in Glasgow, and the conversation goes something like this. So the Australian gentleman says, "So I've been trying to get through to you for 3 days, and I've just had absolutely no luck. And you know, I really want to do this trip to Scotland. I've been trying to arrange my flights for 3 days." And the call centre operator says, "Sir, we've been here all the time. I don't know what you've been doing. Is there a possibility that maybe there wasn't the right connection?" So the call centre operator says, "Look, sir, we've been on the phone for about 5 minutes, and we still haven't resolved the reason for you not being able to get through here. You've got through just now, which is absolutely brilliant. So what number have you actually been phoning?" And the gentleman from Australia says, 0800 2100. And the call centre operator says, "Sir, these are actually our opening hours." That's a true story. That is actually a true story. And so sometimes when we follow our passion, when we do what we love, we do have these fun times and these adventures. And I just love when they happen, because it's a conversation. You know, there's a beauty in the conversation, and also in the learning. Now, the person who had phoned in had actually requested a tune, and the tune they had requested, this person actually has a passion for sailing. So in order to honour the passion for sailing, I'd like to play O'er the Sea to Sky. Now, when we talk about passion, the love of what you do, surnames in Scotland sometimes give a hint of the speciality of the family. For example, it might be Cooper, and Cooper, members of the family might have made barrels. Smith might have been somebody in the family might have actually been a blacksmith, so they would have been the blacksmith in the village and made shoes for horses. And one of the now this is absolutely true what I'm about to tell you next, so please sit down. Scotland, the home of golf is St Andrews, and people have loved to play golf for a number of centuries in Scotland. Now, when a novice like myself plays golf, I always take a lump of grass out of the ground, and that is called a divot. And I was very fortunate while I was in Scotland to actually meet a person called Mr. McDivitt. And that said to me that that particular family's passion or love was actually being some of Scotland's first greenkeepers. How about that? So it's a slightly unusual name, but you know, MacLeod might be a slightly unusual name for people somewhere else in the world, but McDivitt is very unique. So when I think about people, perhaps the blacksmith in the village, and I think about hitting metal, I think about iron. And there's actually a tune, a Strathspey, which is on Roaming Free, which is on the Roaming Free album, called The Iron Man. And I'm going to dedicate this tune to all the blacksmiths in the world. Now, going back a few centuries, back to Elizabeth the First of England's time, printmakers used to be paid in pints of ale per hour. And my goodness, actually working with machinery and, you know, I think there were probably a few misspellings in the newspapers published at that time. But that was a passion of people, you know, working with print. And at that time, one of the types of alcohol might have been called ale. And this is a tune to celebrate the ale is dear. And I think this was some of the first economics in the UK where people started talking about the price of ale going up and up and up. So this tune is The Ale is Dear. In fact, I would like to dedicate that tune to some of the first economists in Scotland. And these economists, they would talk about price and quantity, and they would be able to tell you a great story of why the price of ale became dearer. Now, when we go around the world and people following their passion, perhaps like myself, I take inspiration from people traveling from one country to another, perhaps people coming from the UK to the US several hundred years ago, or people immigrating from the UK over to Australia or New Zealand. And these people have come across they might write stories about their travels. The letters back home might influence other members of their families to travel. And one of my first trips to the US was actually back in end of 2001, 2002. And I remember going from Australia to New Zealand and spending about 3 weeks on North Island in New Zealand, and discovering a connection, a really, really strong connection between North Island, between New Zealand and Scotland. And it was a gentleman called Donald MacLeod. Now, Donald MacLeod was born in the early 1800s, and he was born in Dunstafnage Castle, which is near Oban on the west coast of Scotland. Now, Dunstafnage Castle is now got a yachting marina next to it. And if I remember, I'll actually post some pictures on Facebook and Instagram, because it's such a beautiful place in the summer. And when I was growing up, I actually went for a picnic to Dunstafnage Castle. Now, if you can imagine Donald MacLeod, he's maybe the age of 18, and he went on a sailing ship from Oban in 1838, travelled over to Melbourne, Australia, and then went to North Island, New Zealand. And during the 1880s, Donald MacLeod was a major negotiator between the Europeans and the Maoris in terms of land rights. And, so Donald followed his passion, and he had some really, really fun and inspiring adventures in his life. And there's a tune called Donald MacLeod's Farewell to Oban, and every time I play that tune, I think of Donald MacLeod leaving Oban on the west coast of Scotland and travelling across the world to follow his passion. Now that tune was actually a 2/4 march, and it's sort of like a very, it's got quite a jaunty beat to it, and I hope you were tapping your feet to the tune. I'm here with Constant Brousseau of Constant Productions, and we're broadcasting live from Orlando, Florida this evening. And how are we doing for time, Constant? 5 more minutes. My goodness. And there's some special offers tonight. A signed roaming free CD sent directly to you. Or there's also Cousins from Afar, which I did back in Melbourne last year with Steve Wade from the Little River Band. And that's actually our first collaboration there. Now that's also available as a signed CD direct to you. And there are also some fiddle lessons. I think there's only 5 fiddle lessons that are available with me as a one-on-one via a Zoom conference call. Now, this is an exclusive offer, and you never know the transformation that will take place, but I'll guarantee that I'll contribute something to you really enjoying your fiddle playing that bit more. And I should mention that I'm actually about to launch my online Celtic Fiddle courses. We have a foundation course that will get you started on the violin. There's a learning by ear course that will help you to really enjoy playing in a Celtic music session anywhere in the world and have fun. And if you want that extra authentic Celtic fiddle sound, then we've also got a course that can just help you own your own sound. And Scotland has a population of about 5.5 million. And around the UK, you have a lot of water. And I've been over in Florida now for a few days, and I see people having a love of fishing from piers. And seeing people fishing from piers, you know, they're casting the lines and they're doing it very, very professionally, and they're following their passion, their love, and they're totally relaxed about what they're doing. This reminds me of a tune in Scotland about people who have gone out to fish in the sea. The fishermen have gone out into the North Sea off the west coast, of the east coast of Scotland, to go fishing. And then when they've come back, it might be after several days, they've seen the lights of their city and they know they're home. They've been following their passion and then they know they're home. And this is called the Northern Lights of Old Aberdeen. Now, I travel on a regular basis, and traveling is one of my passions. It's amazing the conversations that we have on our travels, and speaking to people and learning more about their passions. And I'm sort of rounding off this evening by going back to something that I love, which is to play you an inspirational tune, something that will take you, transport you to somewhere else, take your mind off things, whatever you're doing. If you've been behind the desk for a long day, take a break. If you've just been taking a walk, maybe you can listen to the recording of the audio of this house concert, and it might relax you as you're walking. So I would like to leave you with a tune that's very, very dear to my heart. And this tune tells the story of somebody who wanted to make it big in the clothing world. And this person, he was a real devil at his job. And this tune is called The Devil Among the Tailors. An entrepreneur who really wanted to leave their mark in what they were doing and change people's perception of what they could actually achieve. I'm Colin MacLeod, Celtic Fiddle Guru. To find out more about me or to get in contact with me, you can go to celticfiddleguru.com, private message me on Facebook, or email me colinmacleod770@gmail.com. If you want to buy a CD, grab it. I've got the pen at the ready to authentically signature and sign the CD. We've also got several opportunities for me to give a lesson, and you'll learn a lot from that. I'll learn a lot as well. And it's good night from me, and it's good night from Constant Brousseau, Constant Productions. Constant, thank you for making this possible. Bye for now. And don't forget that we're actually going to do this the same time next week. Next Thursday, 14th of June, 8 p.m. Bye for now.